Every successful person is a product of their habits. Your future success depends on the habits you build today. Wealth is built by taking small, intentional steps every day. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment, but making the moment perfect with your habits. What if you could wake up every day with a clear plan, knowing exactly what steps to take to move closer to your goals? What if you could build a life where success doesn't depend on constant hustle, but instead flows naturally because you've set the right habits in place? What if you could stop worrying about money and start building wealth effortlessly by simply changing how you think about your time and resources? The truth is, extremely wealthy people don't just work harder, they work smarter, and they do it consistently. They've mastered daily habits that allow them to create a life of freedom, control, and growth. But what exactly do they do differently? What can you learn from their routines, mindsets, and strategies that will completely transform your own life? Today we're diving into the habits of extremely wealthy people. These are the simple yet powerful habits that you can start implementing right now to change your future. If you're ready to transform your life, build real wealth, and create a future that works for you, then completely commit to making these habits a part of your daily routine. Now let's dive in. Number 1. Wake up early and plan your entire day. Waking up early is not just about getting out of bed before everyone else. It's about taking control of your life. It's about making a decision that you are no longer living by chance. You are now living by design when the world is quiet and still. That's your time. That's the moment when you have the power to decide how your day will unfold. Wealthy people understand that how you start the day shapes everything that comes after it, and they don't leave that to randomness. You don't build wealth by accident. You build it by setting clear intentions every single day. When you wake up early, you give yourself the most valuable thing, space to think. Most people never stop to think. They run from one thing to the next, always reacting, always catching up. But when you start the day early, you're not rushed. You're calm. You can breathe. And you can ask yourself what matters most today. That question is where the real difference begins. Wealthy people don't begin the day with noise and confusion. They begin it with purpose. They know that time is the most precious resource, and they treat those first hours of the morning with the highest respect. They're not scrolling through distractions. They're not listening to everybody else. They're planning. They're focusing. They're choosing. You need to understand the power of that first hour. You're fresh. Your mind is clear. Your energy hasn't been pulled in 20 directions yet. That's your window to decide what matters most. You can sit down with a notebook and write your top priorities. You can look at your goals and ask, what action moves me closer today? You can decide what kind of person you want to be today. That's where wealthy people separate themselves. They choose their identity before the day begins. Planning your day is not about writing a long to-do list. It's about clarity. It's about knowing the difference between what looks important and what is actually important. You can be busy all day and still be broke. You can have a full schedule and still be lost. Wealthy people don't confuse activity with progress. They focus on results. They focus on progress. And they design their days around what moves them forward. You don't need complicated systems. You just need a clear plan. Start with this. What's one thing I will finish today no matter what? Make that one thing count. Make it meaningful. Make it something that gets you closer to freedom. If you do one powerful thing every day for a year, your life will not look the same. That's how momentum starts. That's how confidence builds. Most people live in reaction mode. They wake up, they check messages. They answer calls, they chase problems. Wealthy people don't start the day by reacting. They start by deciding. They decide what gets their energy. They decide where their time goes. They decide what deserves their attention. That level of ownership is rare, but it's also what builds success. When you plan your day early, you are no longer driven by emotion. You are driven by purpose. That makes you stronger. You don't fall apart when things go wrong. You adjust. You adapt. Because you're not wandering. You know where you're going. That direction gives you power. It gives you peace of mind. You don't feel behind. You feel ahead. There's something powerful about knowing what your day is for. You walk differently. You speak with more conviction. You stop chasing everything that looks urgent. You start choosing what's truly important. And that shift brings results. It brings stability. It brings wealth. You have to understand the world is full of noise. People want your time. They want your focus. They want your energy. If you don't plan your day, you'll give those things away without even knowing it. But if you do plan, you're no longer easy to distract. You're no longer pulled into things that don't matter. You're grounded. You're focused. You're moving with purpose. Waking up early isn't about being perfect. It's about getting better. It's about doing something that most people are not willing to do. When you win the morning, you start to feel in control. You build discipline, and discipline creates structure. Structure creates results, and results change your life. You don't have to do everything at once. Start small. Set your alarm 30 minutes earlier. Use that time to sit quietly, to think, to write, to organize your thoughts. Ask yourself what outcome matters today. Ask yourself where your effort needs to go. And once you've got that answer, stick to it. Follow through. Finish what you start. Wealthy people don't wait for motivation. They rely on habits. And the habit of waking up early and planning their day is one of the strongest habits they have. It gives them control. It gives them clarity. And it gives them the consistency to keep building even when things get hard. Success doesn't come from luck. It comes from systems. It comes from the way you manage your day. If you wake up every day and drift, you'll live your life reacting. But if you wake up early and direct your focus, you'll create something better. You'll begin to feel different. You'll carry yourself differently. You'll become someone others can count on. That kind of self-respect, that kind of confidence, that kind of strength. It all starts with how you begin the day. Do you wake up and fall into old patterns? Or do you wake up and take control? That one choice creates a ripple effect. It touches every area of your life. Your work, your money, your health, your relationships, everything. And every day you have that choice. You can hit snooze and stay the same. Or you can rise early and design a better future. You can hope the day works out. Or you can take ownership and make it count. Wealthy people choose ownership. They choose effort. They choose clarity. That's why they build what others only dream of. The early morning hours belong to the builders, the thinkers, the doers, and the future belongs to them. Not because they're lucky, not because they're better, but because they make different choices. And one of the most important choices is this: wake up early and plan your entire day. Number 2. Invest time daily to learn something truly valuable. Learning is not something you do once in school and forget. It's not a box to check. It's a lifelong process. If you want to become truly wealthy, not just in money, but in skill, awareness, and wisdom, you have to learn every single day. Wealthy people never stop learning because they understand that everything in life improves when your mind expands. They don't wait for knowledge to come to them. They go after it. They make it a habit. They make it a priority. The world changes fast. Skills become outdated. Opportunities shift. If you're not learning, you're falling behind. Wealthy people are aware of that. They study the trends. They watch where the value is moving. They pay attention to what's becoming important, and they don't just consume information. They absorb what matters. They are intentional with what they feed their minds. They don't waste time on junk that doesn't move them forward. Every day they carve out time to grow their thinking. It could be reading a chapter of a book, watching a meaningful lecture, studying an area that builds their future, or learning from someone who has already done what they want to do. They don't just scroll through social media looking for entertainment. They look for education. They ask themselves, what can I learn today that helps me tomorrow? They understand that knowledge is not about looking smart. It's about making better choices. A better decision today can save you years. One new insight can change how you approach your business, your finances, or your relationships. It can save you from mistakes that cost time, money, and energy. That's why wealthy people are committed to learning. They want every advantage they can earn. And they know knowledge is one of the most powerful advantages of all. You don't need to spend hours every day with your head in a book. You need to spend a little time with full attention. Even 20 minutes a day fully focused on learning something valuable will change your life over time. That's not theory. That's proven. When you commit to daily learning, your thinking shifts. You start seeing opportunities others miss. You start solving problems faster. You start asking better questions, and better questions lead to better results. The key is to choose valuable information, not just anything. Valuable means it helps you in real ways. It gives you tools you can apply. It sharpens your perspective. It helps you grow in your work, your health, your mindset, or your finances. If the information doesn't serve your growth, it's a distraction. Wealthy people don't have time for distractions. They choose content that builds them, stretches them, and challenges them. You might think you're too busy to learn every day, but ask yourself this: how much time do you spend on things that give you nothing in return? Watching videos you won't remember, listening to gossip that adds no value, having conversations that go nowhere. The truth is, you have time. You just have to take control of it. And once you start using that time to learn, you'll feel the difference. You'll feel sharper, more prepared, more confident. Confidence doesn't come from guessing. It comes from knowing. And the way to know is to learn. Learn from books, learn from mentors, learn from your mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes. Learning doesn't mean you sit in a classroom. It means you stay curious. You keep asking questions. You stay open to better ways. You look at what's working and what's not, and you adapt. Wealthy people don't claim to know everything. In fact, the smartest ones will tell you they're still learning. That humility keeps them growing. That attitude keeps them relevant. It's not about ego. It's about improvement. They measure their success not just by how much they have, but by how much they're becoming. And that process never stops. If you want to lead, if you want to build, if you want to rise above average, you have to commit to learning daily, not when it's convenient, not when you're in trouble. Every day, that consistency builds momentum. That momentum creates breakthroughs. And breakthroughs are what change your situation. Make learning part of your routine. Choose a time. Maybe it's in the morning before the day starts. Maybe it's during your lunch. Maybe it's before bed. But protect that time. Make it sacred. And don't just learn passively. Take notes. Write down what stands out. Reflect on what you're learning. Think about how you can apply it. Knowledge without action is wasted. Wealthy people don't just collect ideas. They use them. You don't need to start with complex topics. Start with what you need most. If you struggle with money, study personal finance. If you're building a business, study leadership and sales. If you're feeling stuck, study mindset and productivity. Start where you are, with what matters now. And as you grow, expand your learning. Move into new areas. Stretch yourself. Don't stay in the same place mentally. One of the most powerful changes you can make is to replace 1 hour of entertainment with 1 hour of education. That trade builds your future. That trade puts you in a different category. Most people are not willing to do it. That's why they stay stuck. They don't lack intelligence. They lack intention. They're not choosing to grow, but you can choose. And that choice, made daily, creates a different life. Every wealthy person you admire has invested time in learning. They've studied people. They've studied systems. They've studied patterns. They've studied themselves. They've learned what works, what doesn't, and what must be improved. That's not luck. That's commitment. They weren't born knowing these things. They chose to learn them. And you can too. You don't need perfect conditions. You need discipline. You need hunger. You need the willingness to put learning above comfort. That small habit of learning something valuable every day gives you an edge. Over time, it becomes part of who you are. You begin thinking differently. You begin speaking differently. You begin operating from a place of clarity instead of confusion. And when you do that long enough, people start to notice. Opportunities come. Results show up. Not because you wished for them, but because you prepared for them. That's the reward of learning. It equips you for the life you want. It protects you from ignorance. It strengthens your judgment, and it gives you the tools to build a future that lasts. You are one insight away from a better path, one idea away from a better result, one lesson away from a breakthrough. But that only happens when you're committed to learning. Not once in a while, not when you feel like it. Daily, consistently, quietly. That's the habit of the wealthy. That's the mindset that leads to mastery. And mastery is the foundation of lasting success. Number 3. Build strong habits that push your life forward. Your habits are the small actions you take without thinking, but they create the direction of your entire life. Wealthy people understand this truth deeply. They don't rely on motivation or feelings to get things done. They build solid habits that work for them, whether they feel like it or not. Strong habits are the quiet force behind every major achievement. They give you structure, focus, and consistency. They keep you on track even when the outside world is full of noise and distractions. You don't need to be extraordinary to succeed. You need to be consistent. You need to show up day after day and follow through on the right actions. The power is not in what you do once in a while. The power is in what you do every day without skipping. Wealthy people don't waste their willpower on deciding what to do each morning. They've already created routines that take them closer to their goals. That's how they keep building when others slow down. You don't build a strong life by chance. You build it by choosing habits that serve your future. Habits are like systems. They simplify your day. They save you from overthinking. When your habits are in place, you don't argue with yourself every morning. You follow the plan you've already designed. That kind of self-discipline gives you freedom. You free yourself from the chaos of starting over again and again. You build something stable that keeps growing. Start by asking yourself, what kind of person do I want to become? Then ask, what does that person do every day? That's how you create habits with purpose. If you want to be focused, build habits that keep your mind sharp. If you want to be healthy, build habits that take care of your body. If you want to be successful, build habits that support discipline, planning, and learning. Every strong habit should connect to the bigger vision of who you want to be. Don't try to change everything at once. Choose one habit that makes a meaningful difference, and focus on that. Make it simple. Make it doable. Repetition matters more than intensity. It's not about doing something massive for a week. It's about doing something small for years. That's what wealthy people understand. They're patient with their habits. They're focused on the long-term result. They know that momentum is more important than perfection. Strong habits give you energy because they reduce mental clutter. You're not constantly deciding or second-guessing. You just act. And over time, those actions stack up. You become stronger, sharper, and more reliable. People start to trust you more. You start to trust yourself more. You don't live in fear of failure because your habits give you a foundation. They remind you that you're moving forward, even if it's slow. Think about the habits that are quietly damaging your progress. Scrolling too long, skipping meals, avoiding difficult conversations, postponing priorities. These actions might feel small, but they shape your outcomes. Wealthy people audit their habits. They're not afraid to face what's not working. They remove what slows them down and replace it with what moves them forward. That's how you grow, by making better choices every day. Build habits that stretch you but don't break you. You want habits that challenge you to be more focused, more intentional, more prepared. But you also want them to be sustainable. That means you can do them on your hardest day, not just on your best day. Wealthy people don't depend on hype or perfect conditions. Their habits work rain or shine. That's how they stay ahead while others fall behind. Habits are not just about tasks. They're about identity. When you stick to a habit, you're telling yourself, this is who I am now. I am disciplined. I am capable. I follow through. That shift changes the way you act in every area of life. You stop making excuses. You start taking responsibility. And when you own your habits, you own your outcomes. If you want to change your results, change your patterns. Don't just hope for a better future. Build it with daily actions. That's what the wealthy do. They look at their goals and ask, what small step can I take today that aligns with this? Then they repeat it. They don't get distracted by trends or opinions. They stay loyal to the process they've built. And that loyalty pays off. Not in weeks, but in years. That's how real growth works. Don't wait for perfect timing to begin. Start where you are, with what you have. Use your mornings to build a routine that strengthens you. Use your evenings to reflect and reset. Use your time in between to stay focused. It's not about working non-stop. It's about working smart. Building habits that matter means you're building a system that keeps you accountable. Even on the days you don't feel motivated, track your progress. Not to impress anyone, but to remind yourself that you're moving. Write down what's working. Adjust what's not. Stay honest with yourself. Wealthy people don't pretend everything is perfect. They make improvements. They notice the little ways their habits could be better. And they make changes before things go off track. That level of awareness protects their momentum. You can build habits that lift you or habits that trap you. The difference is attention. Are you aware of how your habits affect your results? Are you choosing them or just falling into them? Take back control. Design habits with intention. Build a structure around your goals. Let your actions serve your future. That's what the best do. They use every day as a chance to build something stronger. There is no secret formula. There's no shortcut, just honest, repeated effort. Strong habits are not flashy. They're not loud. They're steady, quiet, unshakable. That's their power. They keep you going when things get hard. They give you a rhythm, a sense of direction. They remind you that success is built, not given. And that building happens one habit at a time. Every day, without fail. Number 4. Choose your friends carefully and grow with them. The people you spend time with shape your values, your mindset, and your direction in life. Wealthy people are deeply aware of this. They do not leave friendships to chance. They make deliberate choices about who they allow into their circle, because who you are around consistently affects your thoughts, your confidence, and even your standards. If you're around people who complain, take shortcuts, and stay in the same place, it becomes harder to rise. Not because you're weak, but because the environment works against your growth. You need friends who challenge you to be better, not those who keep you comfortable where you are. You need people who talk about ideas, progress, solutions, not people who talk about problems all day without taking action. Wealthy people look for relationships that elevate them, not drain them. They know the difference between someone who supports their growth and someone who distracts them from it. That clarity saves them years of wasted effort. Choosing your friends wisely doesn't mean being arrogant or cutting people off for no reason. It means being intentional. It means looking at your goals and asking yourself, are the people close to me helping me get there or holding me back? It means having enough self-respect to distance yourself from negativity, small thinking, and drama. Your friendships are like soil. If the soil is toxic, the seed won't grow. Even if the seed is strong, it still needs the right ground to flourish. The wealthy understand that strong relationships are not just about success, they're about emotional strength, mental clarity, and character development. The right people around you will keep you grounded when you're doing well and lift you up when you're struggling. They'll remind you of your potential when you forget. They'll challenge your excuses and hold you to your best. That's not criticism. That's love. That's real friendship. You can't grow if everyone around you is afraid to grow. You can't become more focused if your environment is filled with distractions. You can't build long-term success if your conversations are always short-term. That's why you must be selective. Ask yourself, who do I spend the most time with? What do we talk about? How do I feel after being with them? Do they push me to grow or pull me into habits I'm trying to break? It's not about being perfect. It's about being honest. And once you become honest about how your relationships affect your growth, you'll begin to attract different people. Growth-minded people look for others who are also growing. It creates a kind of silent trust. You recognize the hunger in each other. You support each other's progress without needing constant praise. You respect each other's time, focus, and mission. Wealthy people build strong networks over time, but those networks are built on shared values, not just shared interests. They look for people with integrity, with vision, with discipline. Not people who pretend to be successful, but people who are building real success from the inside out. That kind of relationship has depth. It can withstand pressure. It doesn't fall apart when challenges come. It grows stronger. Growth is a journey, and having friends who walk that journey with you makes a difference. You talk about books you've read. You share lessons you've learned. You hold each other accountable. You celebrate wins without envy. You listen without judgment. That energy creates confidence. It helps you take bigger steps because you know you're not walking alone. You're supported, not carried, but supported. The wrong friendships can quietly destroy your progress, not always by direct sabotage, but by constant doubt, distraction, or discouragement. If every time you take a step forward, someone around you questions it, you'll start questioning yourself. If they always point out what could go wrong, you'll stop focusing on what could go right. That influence wears on you. Wealthy people avoid that trap by protecting their space and energy. You don't need a lot of friends. You need the right ones. A few people who truly want to see you win, who are growing in their own lives and want to grow with you. Quality always beats quantity. One meaningful conversation can do more for your future than hours of small talk. One genuine friend can keep you on track when you're tempted to quit. That's how wealth is built. Not just through money, but through meaningful connection. When you grow, not everyone will grow with you. That's a reality most people avoid. But the wealthy embrace it. They understand that seasons change. Some relationships are meant for a time, not a lifetime. And that's okay. Letting go of the wrong people makes room for the right ones. It's not betrayal, it's alignment. When you change your direction, your circle has to change too. Your friends should reflect your values, not just your past. If all your conversations are about old memories and none are about your future, you need to evaluate that. Growth requires forward motion. It requires goals, habits, and vision. Friends who grow with you will want to talk about what you're building, not just what you used to be. They'll respect your time. They'll support your focus. They'll understand your discipline. And you must be the same kind of friend in return. Don't just look for people who can help you. Be someone who uplifts others. Encourage them. Challenge them. Be present when they need support. Celebrate their progress. Give without keeping score. That's how real bonds are formed. Not through convenience, but through shared commitment to growth and mutual respect. If your vision is big, your friendships must be strong. Weak relationships will not survive the pressure of ambition. They'll collapse under jealousy, insecurity, or laziness. That's why the wealthy are careful. They know that who you associate with either pulls you up or drags you down. There is no neutral. Every voice around you is either speaking life into your dream or slowly killing it with doubt. You become like the people you're close to. If they're disciplined, focused, and growing, that rubs off. If they're scattered, negative, and stagnant, that rubs off too. You can't pretend it doesn't matter. It always matters. That's why one of the greatest investments you can make is in the right relationships, not based on how long you've known someone, but on how well you push each other forward. The wealthy are not lucky to have good friends. They worked for it. They made conscious choices. They showed up with character. They walked away from toxicity. They outgrew old circles. They stayed open to meeting new people. And they grew not just in income but in influence and wisdom, by surrounding themselves with people who refuse to stay small.
Number 5. Work in silence and stay focused on your mission. In the lives of extremely wealthy people, one thing you'll notice is their ability to stay quiet and keep building. They don't waste time explaining their every move or seeking approval at every step. They know where they're going. They understand the value of keeping their heads down and focusing on the work. Talking doesn't build things. Doing does. That's why they're not posting every small effort or needing recognition before the result shows up. Their work is the proof. Their progress speaks for them. Staying quiet isn't about being shy or avoiding attention. It's about discipline. It's about protecting your energy from distractions and noise. The moment you start chasing validation from the outside, you lose focus on what matters on the inside. Wealthy people value results over reactions. They don't need to announce every goal. They work toward it step by step, hour by hour. They don't argue with doubters. They let their success settle the debate. When you talk too much about what you're going to do, you drain the urgency to do it. That's a trap many people fall into. They feel good just by saying it out loud, but they don't follow through. Wealthy people stay committed in private. They show up every day without a crowd watching. Their satisfaction doesn't come from applause. It comes from completion. That's how you build something lasting with your head down
your heart in the work, and your mind clear. You can't move fast if you're constantly looking around to see who's watching. Distraction breaks momentum. Every time you check for approval, you lose focus. Every time you explain yourself, you lose time. That time could be used refining your skills, tightening your strategy, building your systems. The wealthy use silence as a shield. It protects their ideas. It gives them space to think, to plan, to build without interruption. They're not hiding. They're preparing. They understand that big things take time. And during that time, there's nothing to prove to anyone. Let others talk. Let them speculate. Let them doubt. While they're busy guessing, you're working. That's the mindset of someone with a mission. Someone who is not easily shaken by outside noise or temporary praise. They've trained themselves to stay committed to the goal even when no one claps. Working in silence builds strength. It builds internal confidence. Because when you know what you're building, you don't need daily applause. You don't need everyone to understand. You don't need updates or attention. You need results. And the only way to get real results is to stay focused. Focused on your time, your energy, your habits. The wealthy protect their focus the way others protect their reputation, because they know focus creates freedom. Every day you have a choice. You can give your attention to distraction, or you can give it to your mission. The mission must win. Your mission is the reason you're doing the work in the first place. It's the thing that gets you up when you're tired. The thing that pulls you forward when comfort tempts you to slow down. When you stay connected to your mission, you stop chasing approval. You stop needing everyone to agree. You move with purpose, not permission. Discipline is not loud. Consistency is not loud. Mastery is not loud. All these things grow in quiet places. In early mornings. In late nights. In moments when no one is watching. That's where the real work happens. Wealthy people are not just working harder. They're working smarter and quieter. They're cutting out the noise. They're protecting their mind from opinions that don't help them grow. They're turning down the volume on the world so they can hear their own direction clearly. You don't need to explain why you're different. Just be different. You don't need to convince anyone that you're serious. Just be serious. Let your focus do the talking. Let your results become undeniable. That's how the wealthy move. Quietly. Intentionally. Powerfully. They're not distracted by trends. They're not following the crowd. They're following a plan. And because they're not looking around all the time, they get ahead faster than those who are. Silence creates space for deep work. And deep work produces breakthroughs. It gives you time to think through details. To find solutions others miss. To refine your direction. That kind of clarity can only be built in solitude. Not isolation, but solitude. A space where you can listen to your own goals and follow through on your own priorities. You need that space to grow. You need that space to win. Wealthy people understand the cost of attention. Every time you chase it, you pay in productivity. They choose to invest that energy in execution. That's what builds businesses. Skills. Freedom. Not talking about it. Not waiting for applause. But showing up and doing it. While others broadcast their efforts, the wealthy preserve their momentum. They let the result become the headline, not the plan. You have something powerful inside you, but it can only grow if you guard it. That's why focus matters. That's why silence matters. It's not about hiding. It's about concentrating. About giving your full energy to what you're building instead of wasting it on distractions. If it doesn't move the mission forward, it doesn't deserve your attention. That's the standard you must live by. If you want to reach new levels, there's peace in working quietly. No pressure to perform for the crowd. No noise drowning out your direction. Just you, your mission, and the steps you must take. You build resilience in that space. You build confidence. Because you learn that you don't need constant feedback to stay committed. You don't need to be seen to stay strong. That kind of inner strength is rare. But it's what makes the difference. People will always have opinions. They'll question your silence. They'll wonder what you're up to. Let them wonder. Let them doubt. That's not your concern. Your concern is your mission, and your job is to protect it. Every hour, every choice, Every habit, it should serve that mission. If it doesn't, it's a distraction. And you can't afford distractions. If you want something extraordinary, the mission doesn't need noise. It needs action. It needs hours of real, focused effort. It needs you to shut the door, turn off the outside voices and build. That's how you earn success. Not through announcements, but through execution. One step at a time, quietly, daily, consistently, until what you've built is too strong, too real, and too valuable to ignore. Number 6. Track every dollar and control your daily spending. One of the biggest turning points in the life of someone who becomes truly wealthy is when they stop being casual about money. Casualness leads to scarcity. Discipline leads to freedom. And the first real discipline when it comes to wealth is learning to track where every dollar goes. Wealthy people don't guess. They don't leave their finances up to chance. They don't look at their bank account once a month and hope everything worked out. They monitor it daily. They study their numbers. They stay aware. There is no real financial power without clarity. You can't improve what you don't track. If you want control, you must pay attention. Wealth is not about having a huge paycheck. It's about keeping more than you spend. It's about being deliberate with what comes in and what goes out. It's about assigning every dollar a job and watching to make sure it does the job you gave it. That level of awareness changes everything. A person who earns a lot but spends even more is not wealthy. They're just temporarily funded. Wealthy people treat money with respect, not fear, respect. They treat it like a tool that builds freedom, not a toy for impulse. They look at their daily expenses the way a builder looks at measurements, precisely, intentionally, carefully. One wrong cut can ruin a structure. One careless habit can ruin your future. That's why they pay close attention. If you don't know where your money is going, you're probably spending too much of it on things that don't matter. Small daily habits drain your future if you're not watching. It's not always the big purchases that do damage. It's the little ones you don't track. Wealthy people study those habits. They ask questions about their purchases. Is this helping me grow? Is this necessary? Is this aligned with my goals? If the answer is no, they cut it. They don't confuse luxury with progress. They know that buying more doesn't mean you're becoming more. They focus on financial discipline because that's what builds long-term peace. You can't feel secure if you're constantly overspending. You can't build freedom on unstable decisions. The daily choices you make with your money tell the story of your future. Track them, understand them, own them. When you track your dollars, you take back control of your time. Because money is not just money, it's time. Every wasted dollar is time you'll have to work again to replace. That's why the wealthy are careful, not stingy, intentional. They understand the cost of unnecessary spending is not just in dollars. It's in stress. It's in time lost. It's in missed opportunities. That awareness makes them sharp. They use simple systems, a journal, an app, a spreadsheet, but they don't guess. They don't hope. They know. They look at the numbers and make real decisions. They evaluate. They adjust. They improve. That's the process. That's the habit. And it's not just a one-time effort. It's daily. It's part of their lifestyle. Because success is not one big decision. It's thousands of small ones made wisely and repeatedly. The discipline of tracking money teaches you more than just numbers. It teaches self-awareness. It teaches patience. It teaches the value of saying no to something now so you can say yes to something better later. That's maturity. That's control. And that's why it's one of the foundational habits of every truly wealthy person. They don't avoid this responsibility, they embrace it. There's power in knowing where every dollar goes. There's confidence in seeing your habits clearly. When you look at your financial life with honesty, you take the first step toward mastery. And mastery starts small. It starts with your next purchase, your next bill, your next coffee. When you begin to ask yourself whether this is really aligned with your bigger goals, everything starts to shift. Some people think this level of tracking is too strict, but strict is not the problem. Sloppy is. Wealth is built on structure. And structure doesn't limit you, it frees you. When you know exactly where you stand, you stop fearing money. You stop avoiding it. You stop feeling like it's controlling you. Because now you're the one making the decisions. Now you're the one in charge. There's a kind of peace that comes from order, knowing that your finances are handled, knowing that you're not making emotional decisions, knowing that even if you earn more later, you've already developed the habits that will protect it. That's the peace wealthy people build, not just with investments, not just with income, but with daily steady awareness. They don't outsource this awareness. They don't blame the economy or hope someone else manages it better. They take full ownership. Because until you own your decisions, you can't change your direction. That ownership begins with paying attention. Not once in a while, not only when you're in trouble, every day. Like brushing your teeth, like eating. It's part of their routine. The person who tracks their money becomes sharper in every area. They start to recognize patterns in their behavior. They start to ask better questions. They start to delay gratification. They stop wasting energy on regret, because now they're practicing awareness. That shift creates progress. Real, lasting progress. It's not glamorous. It's not loud, but it's powerful. The wealthy don't rise by accident. They rise by design. And that design starts on the most basic level with what they do today. With how they spend, how they save, how they choose. That's where strength is built. Quietly, repeatedly. This is not about how much you earn. It's about how well you manage what you earn. You can double your income and still feel broke if your habits don't change. But if you change your habits now, you'll be ready when your income grows. That's how wealth works. It multiplies where there is order. It grows where there is clarity. It stays where there is respect. No one is born knowing this. It's learned. It's developed. It's practiced. The sooner you start, the faster you build strength. And the more consistent you are, the more peace you gain. Not because you avoided spending, but because you took control. That control changes your future. That control is the real key to freedom. And it begins today with the decision to track every dollar.
Number 7. Read daily to expand your thinking and awareness. Every person who has reached extraordinary levels of success has one powerful thing in common. They make reading a daily habit, not when they have time, not just when life slows down. Daily, it's a personal commitment to growth. Reading is not about collecting information. It's about building a mind that sees further, understands deeper, and thinks more clearly. Wealthy people understand this. They feed their minds because they know everything starts there. Reading opens doors. Not physical ones, mental ones. A closed mind cannot grow. A mind stuck in yesterday's ideas will repeat yesterday's decisions. But the mind that is fed daily with fresh insights, proven strategies, real experiences, that mind expands. And as it expands, so do your opportunities. You begin to see what others don't. You begin to understand what once felt confusing. You begin to connect ideas and apply them in your life. It's not about reading to impress anyone. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. One powerful idea applied can change your entire trajectory. Wealthy people look for those ideas. They look for patterns, lessons, and principles. They read to learn how other people overcame obstacles. They read to understand how decisions are made, how leadership works, how habits form, how markets move, how people think. They're not guessing, they're studying. Reading creates clarity. It gives you a new lens to view your life. It helps you ask better questions. You begin to examine your routines, your beliefs, your habits with more precision. You notice where you're stuck. You find tools you didn't know existed. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding with insight. That's the difference between a wandering life and a directed one. How much you know and how well you use it. We live in a world full of noise, distractions, opinions, endless content. But reading cuts through that noise. It's not entertainment. It's preparation. Wealthy people treat it that way. They build quiet space into their day to think, to learn, to grow. They protect that space because they know its value. When they pick up a book, they're not escaping.
they're evolving. Even 15 minutes a day compounds. That's not just time, it's investment. Every chapter adds to your perspective. Every lesson builds your understanding. Over time, you start to think differently. You stop looking for quick answers. You start building mental frameworks. You become more confident in decision-making. You develop mental discipline. You become your own advisor, because now you've studied the minds of those who've been there. This is not about intelligence. It's about hunger, a desire to grow, a willingness to seek out knowledge. Wealthy people are students before they are leaders. They are learners before they are earners. They don't rely on luck or talent alone. They build capacity. And that capacity is built one page at a time, quietly, consistently, with intention. They read across topics: business, psychology, finance, health, relationships. Because they know success is not one-dimensional. Every area of your life matters. Your mind affects your money. Your health affects your energy. Your relationships affect your peace. The more you understand, the more you can shape your life in a way that works. That's why they stay curious. They don't wait until they have a problem. They read to prevent problems. They don't wait until they feel stuck. They read to stay ahead. It's part of how they think. They ask themselves, what am I feeding my mind? Is it helping me grow? Is it sharpening me? Is it giving me the tools I need for the future I want? If the answer is no, they change it. Because input shapes outcome. Reading also builds patience. In a world that's rushing, scrolling, reacting, reading slows you down. It makes you think. It requires focus. That focus becomes a skill, a powerful one. When others are distracted, you're locked in. When others are overwhelmed, you're steady. Because you've trained your mind to engage deeply. You've strengthened your ability to concentrate. Wealthy people don't hope for better circumstances. They prepare themselves to handle bigger challenges. And the mind is the first battlefield. The stronger the mind, the better the outcomes. But strength doesn't happen by accident. It's built daily, through effort, reflection, and learning. That's what reading does. It exercises your thinking. It expands your capacity. It makes you sharper. Reading doesn't just teach facts. It shapes identity. When you read the stories of people who've built great lives, you begin to believe it's possible for you too. When you read the struggles they faced, you realize setbacks are normal, not final. You start to identify with resilience, with courage, with growth. That shift in self-perception changes how you show up in your life. You stop waiting to feel ready. You start moving forward because now you know more. You start taking actions you once avoided. You start seeing yourself as someone capable of success. That's the power of reading. It rewires what you believe is possible. Wealthy people protect that belief by feeding it daily. Not just once a month. Not only on weekends. Every day. Because they understand their future depends on what they know. They build libraries before they build homes. They spend money on books before they spend it on status. Because they know information is leverage. It's the edge that sets them apart. In conversations, in decisions, in vision. They show up with insight. They show up with understanding. They've done the work that others skip, and it shows. If you want to grow, start reading. Not later. Not when things settle down. Now pick up a book that challenges you. One that sharpens you. One that speaks to the next version of you. Make it a habit. Build it into your morning, or your evening, or your lunch break. But make it daily. That consistency compounds. That small decision leads to powerful change. You will not change your life by accident. You will change it by changing what you do each day. And reading is one of the highest return habits you can form. It's accessible. It's affordable. And it works. The mind you build through reading becomes the foundation for everything else. Your goals, your relationships, your career, your peace. Wealthy people don't just read. They absorb. They reflect. They apply. They discuss. They write down insights. They look for one good idea they can implement. One perspective that can improve their strategy. One story that gives them clarity. And they use it. That's why they grow. Not because they're lucky. Because they're intentional. And when reading becomes part of who you are, the way you think transforms. You stop being limited by your past. You stop repeating unhelpful cycles. You begin creating new paths. Because now you know better. And when you know better, you can do better. That's the habit. That's the power. That's the shift. Number 8. Set goals every morning and review every night. When you wake up in the morning, you're given another chance to shape your life. You're handed a full day to either drift or direct. That's where goal setting comes in. People who become extremely wealthy don't begin their days without knowing exactly where they're heading. It's not about being busy. It's about being intentional. Setting goals every morning is how you create structure. And when you have structure, you move with purpose. You're no longer guessing what matters most. You're deciding. Every morning, you take the wheel. You sit down, maybe even before the rest of the world wakes up, and you write your goals. Not dreams, not vague ideas. Clear, specific, measurable goals. The kind of goals that give your mind something to lock into. Because when you know what you're working toward, your energy follows. Your focus sharpens. Your distractions lose power. You're not just reacting, you're creating. It's not about writing a long list. It's about writing the right list. What will move you forward today? What actions support your bigger vision? Wealthy people don't set goals just for motivation. They set them for direction. They know that every small step matters. One well-executed task today brings you closer to something bigger. It could be one phone call, one decision, 1 hour of deep work, but it's chosen on purpose. It's not left to chance. Setting goals in the morning trains your mind to stay accountable. It gives you something to measure against. Without that clarity, your day gets taken over by other people's priorities. You spend time on the urgent instead of the important. You answer emails that don't matter. You fill time instead of filling your purpose. Wealthy individuals don't let that happen. They start their day with clarity because they know how precious time is. But the power of goal setting doesn't end in the morning. Reviewing your goals at night is just as critical. This is where learning happens. Reflection is how you grow. You ask yourself, did I do what I said I would? Did I stay focused? Where did I drift? What distracted me? What worked well? You don't do it to judge yourself. You do it to learn about yourself. You become a student of your own behavior. This evening review gives you feedback. It shows you what's working and what isn't. And when you have that awareness, you can adjust. You can make tomorrow better. You can build on your progress. You can spot habits that hold you back and replace them. This kind of review builds self-awareness, and self-awareness is the foundation of growth. Wealthy people don't just work hard. They pay attention. They learn from every day. This habit also builds integrity. When you set goals in the morning and check them at night, you create an agreement with yourself. And every time you follow through, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. That builds confidence. That builds belief. You're no longer hoping to get better. You're proving it daily, even if you fall short some days. The act of setting and reviewing keeps you in the game. You also develop a deeper understanding of what really matters. Over time, you start to see patterns. You notice which goals inspire you and which ones feel empty. You begin to refine your vision. You stop chasing every opportunity. You focus on what truly aligns with your values and your future. This clarity comes from consistent reflection, and clarity leads to better decisions. It's not about perfection. Wealthy people don't hit every goal every day, but they don't let that stop them. They keep showing up. They keep adjusting. They keep setting goals and reviewing them, because they know progress is built on consistency. You don't have to get everything right. You just have to keep moving in the right direction. Goal setting is also a way to manage your emotions. Life can feel overwhelming, especially when you're building something meaningful. But when you break your vision down into daily steps, it becomes manageable. You can see progress. You can feel momentum. You're not just dreaming big. You're acting small and consistently. That's how things change. This habit also builds gratitude. When you look at your goals each night, you begin to appreciate the small wins. You see how far you've come. You notice the effort you put in. You recognize that even if you didn't finish everything, you made progress. And progress feels good. It keeps you motivated. It reminds you that you're capable of more. Wealthy individuals use this habit to build discipline. Not the harsh kind, the empowering kind. The kind that says, I decide how my day goes. I choose what matters. I'm not led by moods or circumstances. That's the discipline that creates freedom. When you know where you're going and why it matters, you stop wasting energy on things that don't align. When you make this a part of your life, you start to notice something powerful. You feel more in control. You stop waking up with anxiety. You stop going to bed with regret. Your days have meaning. Your efforts have direction. Your actions have alignment. This feeling isn't random. It's earned. It comes from showing up for yourself, every morning and every night. You don't need fancy tools. A simple notebook or even your phone is enough. What matters is the practice, the commitment to showing up, the decision to take control of your life. Wealthy people do this because they've seen the cost of drifting. They've lived through the frustration of aimlessness. They don't want to waste time wondering what to do. They want to get to work. They also use this practice to build resilience. Not every day will go as planned. There will be setbacks. There will be interruptions. But when you review your goals nightly, you get to reset. You get to recalibrate. You get to remind yourself that you're still on the path. That one bad day doesn't define the journey. That's what keeps them going. That's why they don't quit. Every great achievement started as a written goal. Someone wrote it down. Someone committed to it. Someone broke it into steps. Someone reviewed their progress every night. That's how it happens. Not overnight, but daily, quietly, consistently, intentionally. If you want to become the kind of person who lives with clarity, who achieves big things, who doesn't waste time, this is one of the most powerful habits you can build. Set your goals every morning. Review them every night. Not just for the productivity, not just for the discipline, but for the person it helps you become. That's what changes everything.
Number 9. Protect your time by saying no more often. Time is one of the most valuable resources you have, yet it's often the most overlooked. We can't buy more time. We can't get it back. Once it's gone, it's gone. The wealthy understand this truth more than most. They know that their success is not only built on what they do, but on what they choose not to do. Protecting your time starts with saying no more often. In a world where everything demands your attention, where distractions are everywhere, where everyone seems to have a request, learning to say no is one of the most important skills you can develop. The wealthy don't say no because they're rude or selfish. They say no because they understand the value of their time. They know that every time they say yes to something, they're saying no to something else, often something far more important. Most people spend their lives reacting to what others want from them. They get caught up in other people's agendas, responding to emails, attending meetings that don't move the needle, doing favors for friends or colleagues that drain their energy. These small tasks and requests may seem harmless, but they add up. They steal your time. They prevent you from focusing on what truly matters. And before you know it, your day is gone, and you've made little to no progress toward your goals. This is where saying no comes in. Saying no is a way of taking control. It's a way of defining your boundaries. When you say no, you're protecting your time. You're making a conscious decision to prioritize what's important and let go of what's not. And if you want to create wealth, build a meaningful life, and focus on the things that move you forward, this is crucial. The wealthy say no to distractions. They say no to people who want to waste their time. They say no to meetings that don't serve them. They say no to things that pull them away from their mission. This doesn't mean they isolate themselves or become antisocial. It means they guard their time fiercely. They understand that every minute counts. They know they have to protect their energy and focus if they want to achieve extraordinary things. In fact, saying no can be one of the most powerful tools you have in building your success. The more you say no to things that don't serve your goals, the more you can say yes to the things that do. It's about creating space for what truly matters. It's about being intentional with your time. When you start saying no, you give yourself permission to focus on your priorities. You give yourself permission to invest your time in what's going to bring you closer to your vision. But here's the thing. Saying no is not easy.
It's uncomfortable at first. We've been taught to be nice. We've been taught to say yes when asked. We don't want to disappoint people. We don't want to be seen as selfish or rude. But here's the truth. Saying yes to everything is the real path to failure. It spreads you too thin. It leaves you exhausted, overwhelmed, and ultimately unproductive. You end up getting stuck in other people's needs and expectations. But when you start saying no, you take back your power. You create the space to focus on your dreams, your goals, your vision. You give yourself the time to do the things that move the needle in your life. Saying no is a form of self-respect. It's a way of honoring your time, your purpose, and your future. The more you practice saying no, the more you realize how much of your time has been wasted on things that don't serve you. And as you recognize this, you become even more committed to protecting your time. The wealthy are not afraid to say no. They don't apologize for it. They don't feel guilty. They know that in order to be successful, they have to protect their time at all costs. They understand that the best way to achieve their goals is to stop getting caught up in things that don't move them forward. They prioritize their most important tasks and are ruthless about saying no to anything that doesn't fit into their plan. This doesn't mean you should say no to every opportunity. It means you need to evaluate each request carefully. Does it align with your values and goals? Will it move you closer to where you want to be? Does it serve your mission? If the answer is no, then don't be afraid to decline. Saying no isn't about closing yourself off from the world. It's about creating the conditions for success. It's about making sure you have the time, the energy, and the focus to do the things that matter most. There's also something incredibly freeing about saying no. It frees you from the pressure of trying to do everything. It releases you from the guilt of saying yes to things that drain your energy. It allows you to live on your terms. And as you get better at saying no, you'll begin to see how much more productive, focused, and fulfilled you feel. Saying no also helps you create stronger boundaries. It teaches you how to protect your time, your space, and your emotional energy. It helps you maintain your focus on your goals without getting pulled in 100 different directions. It's a skill that separates successful people from those who are simply spinning their wheels. It's easy to fall into the trap of saying yes because you're afraid of missing out. You think that every opportunity is the one that will change your life. But the truth is, not every opportunity is worth pursuing. In fact, many opportunities will only distract you from what you should be focusing on. That's why learning to say no is so important. It helps you stay focused on your bigger picture. To protect your time, you have to be clear on your priorities. What's most important to you? What are you working toward? What are the things that truly matter? Once you know that, saying no becomes much easier. You can confidently decline anything that doesn't align with your vision. When you protect your time, you also protect your energy. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you give away a piece of your energy. And energy is something you can never get back. Wealthy people know this, and they guard their energy as much as they guard their time. They don't waste it on things that don't serve them. They conserve it for the things that truly matter. Saying no is a game changer. It gives you the freedom to focus on what you want to achieve. It frees you from distractions. It empowers you to live a life that's intentional, purposeful, and aligned with your goals. And it's one of the most powerful habits you can develop if you want to achieve extraordinary success. Number 10. Create systems that work even when you rest. One of the key habits of highly successful people is their ability to build systems that function without requiring constant attention. This concept is crucial because if you're always involved in the day-to-day grind, you're limited. You're limited in what you can accomplish, and you're limiting your potential. The most successful people understand this. They know that in order to scale, in order to truly create wealth and freedom, they need to set up systems that will work even when they're not working. These systems are like the backbone of their success. They allow them to take breaks, rest, and recharge without their progress coming to a halt. Creating systems that work for you is not just about automation or delegation. It's about designing processes and structures that operate with minimal intervention, ensuring that your goals continue to move forward even when you step away. It's about creating a foundation of consistency that's reliable and dependable, no matter where you are or how much energy you're expending. Whether you're on vacation, spending time with your family, or simply taking a moment to relax, the work continues in the background. This is how true freedom is built. The first step to creating these systems is to stop thinking that you have to do everything yourself. Many people believe they need to be involved in every detail of their business or life in order for things to go well. But that's a myth. The reality is, you can't grow if you're constantly doing everything. Successful people understand this early on and focus on building teams, tools, and processes that allow things to run smoothly without their direct involvement. This is not only the key to scaling, but also the key to making time for yourself. Think about the businesses and organizations that thrive, whether they're corporations or small enterprises. The businesses that continue to grow and succeed over time are the ones with systems in place. These systems are designed to streamline operations, reduce inefficiencies, and ensure that work gets done even when the leadership is not actively overseeing everything. They've built a machine that functions without needing constant supervision. And the same principle applies to your personal life too. Start by identifying areas where you're spending too much time on tasks that could be automated or delegated. For example, are you still doing all the administrative work yourself? Are you spending hours answering emails, scheduling appointments, or handling customer service requests? These are tasks that, while important, can easily be automated or handed off to someone else. By freeing up your time from these small repetitive tasks, you can focus on the bigger picture. You can focus on your growth, on your vision, and on the things that will push you toward your goals. The next step is to implement tools that will help you automate these tasks. There are countless technologies and platforms available today that make it easier than ever to set up systems that run in the background. For instance, you can use scheduling tools that automatically arrange meetings for you, email marketing systems that send out messages to clients without you having to press send, and financial tools that track your spending and savings without you having to manually update spreadsheets. These systems don't just save you time, they also ensure consistency. When you're not doing these tasks yourself, you eliminate the potential for human error and inconsistency. Another important aspect of creating systems is delegation. As your business or personal life grows, you'll inevitably encounter tasks that require a level of expertise or focus that you can't provide without sacrificing your own growth. This is where building a team becomes crucial. By surrounding yourself with talented individuals who are aligned with your vision, you can ensure that the necessary work gets done even when you're not around to supervise it. Successful people don't do everything themselves. They leverage the strengths of others. And that's the key to creating a system that works even when you rest. You can rest assured that your team is capable, that they understand the goals, and that they can keep things running smoothly. Once you've set up automation and delegation, you need to create processes that are repeatable and scalable. This involves documenting the steps involved in each task or process. When a process is repeatable, it means that it can be done over and over again without losing quality or efficiency. For example, if you're running a business, you should have standard operating procedures (SOPs) in place for each aspect of your business: marketing, sales, customer service, inventory, etc. When someone steps into a role or a new team member joins, they should be able to follow these documented steps and know exactly what to do without you needing to be there to guide them. The key to a successful system is predictability. When everything is in place, you know exactly what will happen next. You don't have to worry about whether or not things are being done right. You don't have to worry about the business falling apart because you're taking a break. The system works, and it works without you. But systems don't just apply to businesses. They apply to your personal life too. Think about your daily routine. How can you build systems to improve your life and well-being? You might set up systems for health, meal prepping for the week ahead, setting reminders to exercise, scheduling time for rest. You can have systems in place for your personal finances, automating bill payments, investing in systems that track and optimize your spending. You can even create systems for personal growth, setting aside time each day for reading, journaling, or reflection. These personal systems are just as important as business systems because they help you maintain balance and consistency. When you have systems in place for your personal habits and routines, you're creating a structure that helps you stay on track. You're ensuring that even on the days when you feel tired or overwhelmed, you're still making progress toward your goals. This is what success looks like. A life that moves forward even when you're taking a break. Creating systems also frees you up to think creatively. When you're not bogged down by the day-to-day tasks, you can focus on innovation and new ideas. You can take risks and experiment because you know that the foundation is solid, and that things are running smoothly in the background. You can spend your time and energy on high-level thinking and big-picture strategies, which is where growth and breakthroughs happen. As you start creating systems in your life and business, you'll begin to notice a shift. You'll feel less stressed, more in control, and more confident in your ability to achieve your goals. You'll see that success doesn't require constant hustle. It doesn't require being busy every second of the day. Success comes from building a foundation that works for you, a foundation that is strong enough to continue running even when you rest. And that's how the truly wealthy and successful people live their lives, by designing systems that work for them, so they can rest, recharge, and come back stronger.